The final thing that I want to talk about today is inflorescence. Inflorescence is a way to describe the arrangement of flowers on a plant. There are many different types of inflorescence, and we're going to focus on the most common ones today. Inflorescence is a funny one. Sometimes it's being critical for me to help me understand what I'm looking at and identify a plant. Sometimes it's not really relevant, but I think it makes an interesting point, and when you go out looking at plants, you do wonder what kind of inflorescence you're looking at. We'll start with the very obvious one, which is solitary. A solitary inflorescence is just simply where a flower is born on its own pedestal by itself. There can be multiple solitary flowers on a plant, but it just means that each pedestal and each breakout flower is by itself. Then we have raceme, which is when the flowers are arranged up a stalk, each with their own pedestals. Following this, we have a spike, which is similar. It's flowers arranged up a stalk, but it's more compact and the individual flowers don't have pedestals or very short ones. The next one is corymb, and corymb is where the flowers are all level despite having varying pedestal lengths. So they all come out at the same height on the top, but the pedestals to make them at the same height at the top are at different lengths. The next one after this is umbel. Umbel is similar to corymb, but it's when all the pedestals arise from one point on the plant. Next, we have capitulum, which is common in the Asteraceae and daisy family once again. It's a dense cluster of more or less sessile flowers. Sessile meaning without a stalk or pedestal. And finally, we have panicle. A panicle is when a flower head comes from lateral branches which are further branched and in which each axis ends in a flower or a flowering bud. The way that I look at panicles is they're kind of like the most disorganized flower inflorescence there are. They have main stalk, branch, and from this branch, then branch again, and from this branch, right, so they're branched and branched again, here you have individual flowers. Branch, branch again, individual flowers. So it's a multi-branched set of flower arrangements. Hope that makes sense. So when it comes to using flowers for identification, look at the color, look at the shape, look at how many stamens, how many pistils, how many flower parts they have, whether the petals are 6 or whether the petals are maybe 3. Have a look at the length of the pedestal. These are all things that can help you to identify the plant later on. Stuff like this is the building blocks of understanding flower structures more, and later on we'll talk in more depth about different inflorescence, flower shapes, and all the other funky stuff, as well as going through examples of some more complicated families and genuses and groups like Acacia or Melaleucas, which have quite interesting flower arrangements.